Hi everyone, welcome to another one of Toppr's webinars. I'm Sarah. So today we have someone really special. I think you know him already. So Dixit Jain is here with us and we will be discussing last minute tips. We know that there's just a few days left for the JEE exams. So Dixit Sir, welcome to our webinar once again.
Thank you so much, Sarah ma'am.
Awesome. So students, do remember that you can keep asking us questions. So keep those questions coming. We will make sure we answer them. Dixit Sir will do his best to answer every single one of those questions. So make sure you subscribe to YouTube and keep those questions coming. All right. So first up, with just a few days, people are really nervous and anxious. Abhi bas kuch hi din baki hai exams ke liye. So how do you cope with this anxiety and stress?
So this is actually one of the most common things which students face during the exam time. I mean, stress is like the thing that will either keep you down or keep you motivated. So I would say that now is not the time for picking up a new chapter. If you have already completed your core portion, or maybe let's say have covered like 60 to 70% of the syllabus, then it's time to just go through the concepts once again, so that while you're writing the exam, you can at least be confident about those concepts, that if whatever type of question comes from those things, you will be able to solve them in any way possible. So yeah, that I think is going to be the key point here. So I think we have 2 to 3 types of viewers with us. Maybe someone who is completed entire thing, but considering 11th, 12th both. One who has completed 12th portion, but revised a bit of 11th portion, and probably few like me just exam hai aur kuch pata hi nahi hai ki kya hone wala hai.
He's an expert, he's lying. Yes, okay.
So right, so I mean it's like for all 3 of them the advice will be the same. So now is the time that when you revise those concepts once again, whatever you know, and if you have if you feel that your preparation is weak and that is giving you stress, then it's time to just just go through the formulas go through the formulas at least, so that if by chance a simple straight formula based question come, then you can at least apply the formula and solve the question. So yeah, I think that's it.
Awesome. So guys, make sure you don't touch on anything new,
right,
like Dixit Sir said, and focus on the things that you've already learned and revise those. Awesome tip, guys. Make sure you remember that. So what about the paper strategy? And a lot of students really keep asking this. What should you tackle first? What should you do next? How should you manage this?
So JEE means it's actually a 3-year exam with 3 sections to solve: physics, chemistry and mathematics. So the first advice I would like to give them on this is carry your watch with you in the examination. I mean, that's actually very important.
Hall mein agar toot gaya to kya karenge?
Yeah, I mean, nahi hota hai yaar kahin pe. I mean, we can't really blame them. So it's always better to keep a watch with us for time management and for making the paper strategy work. So since it's a 3-year exam, I would essentially dedicate 1 hour to each subject if my all 3 subjects are on the okay-ish side.
Okay.
But if I feel that I'm quite strong in this subject but a little weak in this one, then I would make a 50-70 minute ratio wala kind of things, 5:7 ratio. So for math, since math is my strong suit, so I'll give 50 minutes to mathematics, then 60 minutes to chemistry, and since physics is my weakest portion, and I think I should give some more time to understand the problem and getting the understanding what the question is asking me to do and then proceed. So I'll give 70 minutes to physics. You can actually change your time allotment accordingly, whichever is your strong subject. You can give a little less time, and I know, I mean, it's little unfair to your strong subject that you're giving some less time, but then again it's a strong subject and you'll be able to solve a good number of questions in that allotted time. And at the end, if you feel here ab to kuch aa hi nahi raha, then you can always come back to those questions which you were not able to do initially, and proceed to the completion of paper.
Exactly. So guys, remember, you tackle the one that you're weaker in first. That's a better idea. Give
more time to
give it more time. Awesome. So you can return to the strong points later.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So next question. How should students start with any particular section?
I would always go with the strongest section. The reason is if I'm able to solve more questions in the initial hour, then I'll be motivated. In fact, I'll feel okay, I've done something, I've won a battle here. And once you win one battle, then I think the rest two battles, you go actually with a fresh energy, with like an entirely motivated mind in the other two sections.
Agreed. So make sure that you
are
give
picking
yourself confidence.
Give yourself confidence by picking up your strongest chapter, by picking up your strongest section first, then move to the next section. Like for me, it will be math, chemistry, and physics, like in that order. For you, it could be PCM or CMP or anything, right?
Awesome. Okay. So in maths, should they start with difficult questions first, or should they start with the simpler questions first?
So over here, I'd like to quote a very interesting word. I mean, I don't know whether it's a word, but you really have to have the skill of identification over here. Now, when I say skill of identification, I'm actually talking about observe the paper for the first 15 minutes to, not 15 minutes, I would say for the first 5 or 10 minutes to, corner out those questions which could be solved like within a minute's time. Like if you, I actually was going through the JEE 2017 paper the other day, and I saw that even though the paper was lengthy, there was still like a lot of formula-based questions there. And if somebody was smart enough to have singulared out those questions initially, then like in the first 15 minutes itself, you would have solved like 8 to 9 questions. And 90 questions, 180 minutes, initial half hour becomes very crucial, because if you're able to solve like 15 to 20 minutes and 15 to 20 questions in that half hour, then as I said, it gives you it boosts your confidence up, and no matter how long the paper is, you still try to, tackle it with like positive energy.
Right.
So I think यहाँ पे अगर मैं बोलूँ तो I would say कि यार पहले 30 minutes के लिए you need to pick up those questions जो कि within 1 minute solve हो सके, or if not within 1 minute, then at least like within 1 minute 30 seconds, and there will be such questions. I mean, if you just go through the 2017 math paper, there were like 5 to 6 questions which you could solve within 9 minutes. So 6 questions, 9 minutes, that means 24 questions for remaining 41 minutes for me. And it's not like कि हमें सारे questions करने हैं math के. I mean, like it's JEE mains. I'm pretty sure that those people over there, they don't really want us to solve the entire paper in that duration, right? Otherwise, why would they give such a difficult paper to us? Like, even if their paper is easy, we can't really attempt all the questions, and we just have to accept this fact. It's important to do a healthy number of questions so that you can, you feel that you're in competition. But it's really not important to do all the questions, rather than give I would say, rather than do justice with each question by allotting it like the required time.
Awesome. So make sure that you keep that in your mind. आप जब calculation करते हो कि हर एक question को solve करना ही है, make sure that you take this into consideration, right? And you just mentioned the last year's paper.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that? Because I think that's one of the most important things people need to know right now.
So I think the students might have already gone through it, and if not, guys, go through it.
Right
I
now.
mean, seriously, go through
now.
it. So solving a previous year paper becomes a key in preparing for such kind of examinations, because these are the papers of that examination. So in some way or the other, they are going to help you only. And if they've solved those papers in an examination situation, then an examination environment, cutting yourself out from social media, parents, friends, etc., just sitting in your room and focusing on that paper for 3 hours, then this is actually the kind of thing they have to do on the day of the exam as well. So if you are able to, this basically preps you for that exam for those 3 hours. And talking about the last year's paper, so if I have to talk about maths, so maths was considered to be the most difficult section of all in JEE Mains 2017, and not because it was having HOTs, high order thinking skill problems, but because the paper was actually very lengthy. So as I said, there were few questions which would be solved under 10 minutes, but there were few questions which were too much calculation based. Yeah, I mean, seriously, too much calculation based. So I couldn't even have done it in 4 minutes probably. So 4 minutes on one problem, that takes a lot of time. And then again, if you have to talk about topic wise, I would say ki there was an uneven distribution between class 12th and 11th section. So usually what happens now ki even CBSE feels that ki yaar class 12 students ne abhi padha hai, to they would have like a better hold of those concepts. So what they do, like what they did last year was that the major portion, in fact like 60% of the portion of the paper was actually more than 60%. It was like somewhat around 65-66%. So around 65-66% of the paper was from class 12 standard, but only 33% was from 11th standard.
Okay.
So yeah, that actually is again a very important thing to note. And among the topics, I would say that algebra actually was pretty important last year. I mean, like there were a lot of questions from algebra. Then calculus was there, of course, 3D and trigonometry. I mean, you really can't miss on any of these topics in particular. But yeah, if for this year, not for this year. So if we have to talk about last year paper, I would say that 18 to 20 questions could have been solved in my 50 minutes. 18 questions could have been solved in my 50 minutes, and if I had got another 10 minutes for it, I could have solved 20.
Okay, so guys, keep that in mind when you're thinking about time management as well in the exam. What should students do if they get stuck in the first question itself and they completely are demotivated? How do you avoid those situations?
Yeah, I mean, for the first question, it's like if you have I'll actually quote a very Bollywood kind of thing over here. So the first question, if after after getting defeated from the first question, if you come back strong, then you'll be called a basi. I mean, yeah, first question is very important, and you should actually try not to stuck at that question. That is why the skill of identification is a must among the students, and that is why even if I have to give this kind of advice to any student, I will always say just pick that topic first or pick that question first, which you feel कि यार ये तो हो ही जाएगा. I mean, there will always be few questions which will be of that way. Right. And you can't really stuck at the first question here. I mean, I would say कि bouncing back from that would be bit difficult. But okay, I mean, if you have already wasted 5-10 minutes, then I think you should make your mind that okay, your question paper is of 2 hours 50 minutes only, and now you are starting fresh.
Cool.
So that's the only strategy you could come up with, because exam time mein agar main kuch aur bolunga to I'd be lying if I say that you'll be able to catch on to that in between your exam time. So the only thing you can do is realize that you have lost those 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Just keep your mind not distracted because of it, and start afresh. So that's the best thing I can come up with.
Cool. Guys, keep those questions coming and do subscribe to our YouTube channel. You know the drill. Cool. So let's start with questions that you guys are asking. First of all, from Study Center we have for biology, how to solve calculus questions.
Okay, calculus questions. These are the favorite ones, I think. So calculus is a very important topic, and when we talk about calculus, we are actually talking about a wider set of chapters. I mean, we are talking about differentiation, continuity, differentiability, integration, application of derivatives, application of integrals, differential equations, and whatnot. I mean, so I would say if you're so it depends upon the question, which question is actually there. So from the past few papers, in the past few papers, I've seen that integration questions are kind of direct. So there is this one process in integration by substitution, and that combined with the property of definite integrals. So both of them together, they form one favorite type of question for these JEE guys. So I think that question would be there. And to solve it, you need to understand. You need to be sound with the properties of definite integrals, along with being good in integration by substitution, and that comes with practice here. I mean, even if you have to solve any kind of other calculus question, be it from application of derivatives, that is maxima minima, then it's important to understand what the question is saying. So there was this one question which even I was stuck in JEE 2017 while I was just resolving the paper. So there's a question on maxima minima which was pretty direct. However, there were two ways to go about it. One was a very lengthy way, and one was very similar way. So since I was trying to do it in exam wala situation, I mean my bosses were on my heads to give me the solution, we have to publish it. So unfortunately I chose the lengthier way. However, if I could have just given 1 more minute in understanding that question, I could have solved it in like less than 2 minutes of the actual time. I mean, like understanding the question for 1 minute plus solving it, that entire duration would have been less than 2 minutes for that lengthy process. Exactly. So 2 minutes saved, and I think probably like one more question solved in it, right? So yeah, calculus is like going to be like a deal breaker for you guys. I mean, understanding the question is important, and at the same time, properties and the various methods of integration. Yeah.
Awesome. So let's move on to our next question. Urleen Kaur Multani is asking, what will be difficult level in JEE main exam in maths?
That's a very subjective question, don't you think? I mean, how can we decide, right? So yeah, if I talk about the last 2 years papers, last year the paper was relatively simple, but yet it was lengthy. A couple of years back, that is in 2016, the paper was like a bit difficult, but it was like, it could have been solved like in 60 minutes time if you would have given the right amount of time to each question. However, this year I feel that paper will not be lengthy. There will be definitely few questions which will be like high order thinking skills, but this time around I feel that it should be like on the easier side.
Let's hope so. Fingers crossed, everybody. Toes crossed. Okay. Guys, keep those questions coming. Subscribe to YouTube. So Archana Shukla is asking, sir, can we focus on MR stats probability to ensure 10th to 12th marks?
Actually, no, yeah. I mean, MR and stats, no. I mean, mathematical reasoning, it doesn't really come off, like the weightage is not really given to that topic much. And then again, stats, I actually don't remember a question on statistics in like the last couple of years. So I wouldn't really rely on these two topics at least for 10 to 12 marks. However, about probability, I mean, it's a part of algebra. So if you are actually covering the entire algebra, I think out of the 30 questions, you can expect 8 to 9 questions at least. So last year itself, there were like 15 questions from algebra, and 15 questions means like the 50% of the paper was from algebra. So this year, I mean, I'm expecting a little less from that section. However, I'm still expecting like 30% of it. So yeah, out of 39 questions should be there from algebra. So yes, not just probability. If you could wrap up the entire algebra section on your own, then I think you'll be like the 30% of the paper would at least be like, familiar to you.
Awesome. So I hope that answers your question, Archana. Mohammed Saqib is asking, sir, what about coordinate questions? Suggest something about coordinate questions.
Coordinate questions are never direct. That is one thing that I'll suggest. So you'll never get a question on coordinate geometry directly. I mean, it will always be an application. Now, when I say application, I mean, there are like a lot of applications. A couple of them would be finding the orthocenter, maybe centroid, maybe circumcenter or something like that. I mean, there are a lot of properties related to a triangle when we talk about, which we talk about in geometry, and you can always mix coordinate with it. So yeah, expect that kind of question from coordinate geometry. It would be more of application based and not direct.
Okay, so we have a question. What about the topic sets and functions? Is this chapter really important?
I wouldn't say about sets. From sets, I would say expect like at most one question. However, from functions, I would say like in some way or the other, functions actually play a key role in each of these questions. The reason is like everything is a function, right? So yeah, I mean, just to clear myself here, guys. Domain and range, it actually plays a key role in like anything, be it trigonometry, be it logarithm, be it like the functions itself, be it like quadratic equations. So in all these topics, functions play a key role, and that is why sets and functions, sets, relations and functions to be precise, is one of the most important chapters for JEE. Not because there'll be like singularly direct questions from this topic, but because ये वो topics है जो कहीं पे भी टांग अड़ा देते हैं. So they'll go like anywhere, even if it's not that tough, they'll still be there.
Awesome. So you better make sure you take care of that, guys. Also, we have NEET session in April 3rd week. So make sure that you guys subscribe to our channel to get latest updates on that. I'm sure you're not going to miss it. And we'll be having more webinars like this. So make sure you subscribe to our channel and keep those questions coming. So we have another question from Archana who's asking, sir, I tried to solve the maths paper in 1 hour out of 3, but I fail every time by 10 to 20 minutes more. So any advice?
So that's why the what's thing over here. I mean, like, you can't really spend like 80 minutes on mathematics out of the 180 minutes. So it's like spending like 45% of your time in that one paper. That's like not really helping. So I would suggest ki be strict to your schedule. Like, be probably like I don't know whether you'll be allowed to put an alarm in your clock. However, yeah, probably not. So, however, just make sure that you are like at least, just what I would say. मतलब एक बार यार नजर मार लो अपनी घड़ी पे. I mean, एक बार अगर आप watch पे just देख लोगे, तो it will help you in keeping the track of time. Once it is like 50 or 60 minutes over, then that means that section is over. It's time to move on to the next section. Yeah, I mean, it might be like we want to do a couple of questions more, but yeah, those questions, they could be like solved at last again. Not you can't be sure that what other two sections hold for you, right? So it will be about time after 60 minutes ki yaar ab aap next section pe switch kar lo. Once you're done with that, maybe that section is difficult. Maybe like in 30 to 40 minutes you realize that yeah, 8 to 9 questions are enough from it. However, there'd never be. But still, you don't really have to waste like time on that question, knowing that there are some more easier questions already left, which you can solve easily as compared to these. Then again, move to the next section. Probably like after 1 hour 50, after 2 or 30 minutes. For the last 30 minutes, you can actually revisit the entire paper, pick up like 5 to 6 good questions which you feel that now these could be solved as you have like gone through the entire paper, and these are the 6-7 questions which are easier to solve as compared to others. So sometimes we feel कि यार ये question तो नहीं होगा. I mean, I get the feeling from inside कि यार ये question अभी तो नहीं होगा. So when I already have when I already know that I'm having this kind of feeling, it would be quite stupid if I still keep on doing that question, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think 60 minutes is sufficient for your one section, Archana. Post that, move to the next, then again to the next, and probably like in the last 30 minutes, revisit math and other sections as well, and do those remaining questions. Yeah.
Awesome. I hope that helps you out, Archana. So do make sure you listen to Sir here. We have another question from Mohammed Saqib who's asking, is Conic section highly important this year? What are your thoughts?
Conic sections is like very important. I mean, last year there was like an entire 12-mark match the following on it. And that again, like, having said that, I would say that this year also, it would be like very important. There will be like questions directly from hyperbola, parabola, ellipse. I mean, any one of these topics, of course. So yeah, conic sections, I would say that it's important, and you can rely on it for like 4 or 5 questions, I believe.
Alright, I hope that answers your question, Saqib. We have another question from Comedy Train. Nice name. Give some chapters to get 40 marks. So you want to know the chapters.
Okay.
Comedy Train.
40 marks. Yeah, I can't actually do it. I mean, like, how would I know कि आपको क्या आता है and मुझे क्या बताना है? Okay, fine. So, and actually a very humorous question. Yeah, I mean, this really suits your name.
Yes.
Okay, so I would say कि yeah, complete maths पढ़ लो. आपको 40 marks definitely आ जाएंगे.
Much easier that way. Alright. So
anyway, just let me I'll just add to my point over here. I mean, okay, so I would say calculus karo yaar. I mean, calculus is very important. Algebra and trigonometry. I think these 3 sections would definitely consume like 50% of your paper. And when I say 50%, it means like 30 questions, 3 marks, 45 marks इसमें cover हो जाते हैं. So there goes your answer here. I mean, these 3 sections, 45 marks for you.
But I'm sure you're not looking for only 40 marks, right?
Yeah, I'm
Please
sure
don't
you're going to get
aim
like
for
60,
higher.
70. I mean, more than that. But
yes.
okay, if you're like looking for like if you're looking for chapters to get 40 marks, these are the chapters. But then again, there's a star mark. You won't be able to solve like all the questions. So make sure that you are like having the basic knowledge of the other concepts as well, so that आप उनके लिए भी थोड़ा fight मारो. I mean, combining the prepared sections and like a little less prepared sections, 40 marks would be very easy.
Okay.
It's time you should aim for like 60. Then I would be able to say कि ठीक है अब तो complete ही कर लो.
चलो. Acha hai, hope you guys understood that. Next question is coming from Roshan Pradhan, who's asking, Sir, remember me? Do you remember him?
I actually do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. He remembers you. As I told you
So
yesterday.
I remember his question. I think he said that he was like too weak in physics and he wants some basic advice in physics, like what to do in like last 3 days. यार सारे subjects तो last 3 days में मत पढ़ो. I mean, I would say that.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah. So I think I remember telling you that I remember Yavar sir and Amol sir. Sorry, not Yavar sir. Praveen sir and Amol sir telling you that at least go through the formulas of physics. And for
he
mathematics,
actually wants to know about maths now. Yeah.
Yeah. So for mathematics, I would say कि I mean direct formula based questions है last year आ चुके हैं, तो I'm not really sure कि इस year कितने आने वाले हैं. However, I just hope आपने एक दो sections को अच्छे से cover किया होगा, and I would advise कि आप उन्हीं दो sections के ऊपर थोड़ा और revision कर लो. Moreover, if you talk about conic sections में जो लेकिन the latter part of the chapter which contains length of subtangent, tangent and the other things, they are like more of formula based. So वहाँ पे if you do it like do it the most generic way also and then apply the formula at the end, you'll be able to get the answer. So I would say conic sections, the formula based part would be covered there. Calculus, it won't be formula based. However, if you just go through the concepts, when I say concepts, I mean practice at least 5-10 good questions on like each section and then do a revision of the things that you are already strong in. I think that should work for you, yeah. So yeah, I mean this is the best I can come up with, Roshan, for this. I mean physics, since it was like more of formula based, so we have given you the advice of learning the formulas. For maths, I would say ki it's important that you remember the concepts as well. So I think do some good question. Maybe do a couple of years of JEE papers and 3-4 sample papers. Maybe that gives you idea. But yeah, while you're solving it, at least solve them pretty honestly. When I say pretty honestly, I mean कोई भी question है तो उसके related जो concept है उसको भी साथ में समझ लो. That should definitely help. Yeah.
Awesome. I hope that really helps you out, Roshan, and hope you are getting the advice that you need. Next question is from Kushal Agrawal, who is asking, Sir, I'm giving online. Is there any problem? Some say that they give less marks and questions are tougher.
So, Kushal, here I think I'd like to say one thing. You can't really tell which paper is easy and which paper is difficult. I mean, you have made your choice to give the paper online. So, I think you should just worry about that part. How the paper will be for the offline section shouldn't really matter you. Because, see, that's like, I think there, so I would say यहाँ पे एक particular चीज मैंने observe की है. So OMR sheet fill करने में ना, it consumes a little bit of your time, and the people who are making those papers, be it online, be it offline, they do keep in mind this thing as well, that while you're solving the paper, while you're solving the paper offline, you have to fill the dot properly, which is like very important, and that is why it might be like a 5-10 minute difference between the online and offline solving paper. However, I think that should not worry you, because you just have to simply click on that option of yours. So that gives you comparatively 30, not 30, if not 30, then 15 seconds, and then compared to like 30 questions in each section. So if I take an average of, let's say, a student will be able to solve like 120 questions. I think he'll be able to solve like 72 questions. 72 questions, 60 to 70% of the questions out of those 90 questions. So that makes it what? Around 60. And 60 when multiplied by 15 seconds, I think that gives you what? 900. And 900 is like 15 minutes. 15 minutes, you have like comparatively 15 minutes of extra time as compared to those offline kids. So you need to look at the brighter side of that, and no way it's going to be कि वो लोग कम marks देंगे. You're going to get the exact same number of marks of which you have attempted the question paper of. There would be a normalization later, but that doesn't mean that will affect more. That will affect your marks more. And that normalization would be across the 2 online papers, which will happen on like 15th and 16th of April. Okay, so don't worry about that. I think you have got it covered. So I think worry about your preparation more, because that is what right now the need of the hour.
Alright, so I hope that answered your question. Guys, make sure that you remember to subscribe to our channel for updates on NEET session coming up on April 3rd week. Make sure you subscribe at that time. So we have another question from Tanmay Patil who's asking, give us some easy chapters.
I'm not taking this question.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean,
be nice.
All chapters are so easy. I mean, what is difficult in mathematics? Yeah, come on. At the end, it's just the concept. Come on, I mean, I don't want to say it on air, so let's just discuss that.
Okay, fine.
Okay, so I would say ki there's nothing like easy and difficult chapters. I mean, from an easy chapter itself, I can give you a question which probably you wouldn't be able to solve even like 15 minutes. And from a difficult chapter, I can give you like just one concept and you will remember it just because you've read it once. So yeah, it's a very subjective approach I'm taking to your question. However, if you since it's the exam time, so yeah, I would say कि ठीक है यार एक दो chapters मैं बता सकता हूँ. I think functions will play a very key role and it's not that difficult. At the same time, logarithms is very easy chapter, but I wouldn't expect like a lot of marks coming out of it. Then again, if I have to talk about like another couple of low difficulty chapters, then I think binomial theorem again makes like one easy chapter. Again, I can't really commit कि आपको उसमें से question आएगा ही आएगा. But yeah, these are like few simple chapters which are already there. However, if you talk about like a medium difficulty level, I think I'll be like much more comfortable in quoting the chapters. It could be quadratic equations, theory of equations, trigonometry, inverse trigonometric functions, permutations and combinations, the entire conic. I mean, these are all like medium difficulty questions. So medium difficulty chapters. So I think yeah, I mean, if you cover like these much topics, 15 nahi hai, 20 questions tak aapke definitely aa jayenge.
Awesome. ठीक है. We move on to the next question. Archana Shukla is asking, sir, is normals and tangent important in hyperbola and ellipse only?
So I think normals and tangents it covers in like each of the chapter of conic sections. So be it hyperbola, ellipse, parabola, or even circles. I mean, normals and tangents are pretty important at every point. And there is one more chapter, application of derivatives, in which you go about normal and tangent by from calculus point of view. So normals and tangents in any form is very important.
Okay, so how should we deal with negative marking? Should we attempt more or should we restrict ourselves from doing more questions to avoid negative marking?
I think you should only take those questions which you are very sure that this is the correct answer. There is no way so I would say ki Jai Mata Di A, Jai Mata Di B, Jai Mata Di C won't really work and it works like in probably 1 in 1,000 times, and you might not be that lucky enough. I'm not saying that you are not lucky enough, you all definitely are, but I think Jai Mata Di A B C D itna luck shayad nahi ho payega. So yeah. I think restrict yourself to those questions only which you feel ki आपका जो आंसर है वो करेक्ट है, and probably I would also trust my instinct as well. So in a couple of questions it's like कि just by looking at the question you can say that यार ये आंसर नहीं हो सकता, it has to be this only, but you have not really solved and got the answer. It's just your instinct that's telling you that. So I mean, if you are like courageous enough, if you are like if you feel कि नहीं यार अब so if you're courageous enough, then I think you should go for it. I mean, I remember one of my papers, so though there were 3 like passage linked questions, and I was able to solve I wasn't able to solve the first question of that passage. However, from the second question, like when I was solving it, I saw that there is a relation between this second question and the first question. And since I was able to solve the second question, it made like the first question quite evident कि यार ये 3 options नहीं हो सकते. It has to be this 4th option, which is like which is going to be the answer. And yes, it was the answer. So yeah, instincts work, but then you should be like courageous. You should be strong enough to trust them.
Exactly. So make sure that you have strong instincts to rely on. वही है आपका advice. Cool. So what about option verification? Beneficial or not?
I don't think it's necessary. I mean, like if you, I mean, it's like about if you're relating it with exam stress, no, yeah, it's really not the kind of thing that you should be doing. I mean, अगर आप option verification like options mark करने में गलती कर रहे हैं, then there is something like which is seriously wrong going on in your mind. It's like just option A. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I have to say it, but yeah, how can you like keep find an answer B and then click it on C? You can't really do it. I mean, even under exam pressure, you know that this is you who will be getting affected by it. So just make sure that you're keeping like your I would say presence of mind is important, and that in that spur of the moment, and that's the only thing I can I can advise you ki just keep your presence your mind that time and mark that option like मतलब जरूरत पड़े तो एक बार देख लो वापस जब क्वेश्चन को लाइक आंसर राइट आया है उसके कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग वो नंबर चेक करते वक्त लाइक उसके कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग ये बी ही है, बट ऑप्शन मार्क करने के लिए वेरिफिकेशन मत करो यार. आई मीन seriously, please don't do it.
Okay, awesome. So I hope that answers your question. Shivansh Sahu is asking, is there any weightage for mean and variance questions from probability?
Not sure. I mean, I would say a question hasn't been asked, but if I say that it will not be asked, then I think that's not going to be like in my my hands. Yeah. I mean, you can't. I would say that it's like a less preferable topic from probability. There are like a lot of topics to pick from probability. In fact, I can pick one question, I can add 2-3 conditions and make it a bit complex for you. So I do that. Why would I like get you to more like a formula based approach and get you like a direct answer when you can solve a question in probably less time but applying like a little bit more of your knowledge. So yeah, I would do that.
Awesome. So I hope you got your answer, Shivansh. Make sure that you guys are subscribing to YouTube. Yes, do that right now. Right now, if you haven't, please do. And make sure you
we need these kinds of hosts who are like persistent on and getting people subscribe to the YouTube channel. I mean, I remember my session. I do it twice a session.
He's judging my hosting skills, guys.
No, I'm just saying that these are the kind of people which we need.
Right. Awesome, guys. You guys will be the judge of that. Cool. So Sultan Khan is asking, is permutations and combinations important or probability?
Both are my favorite. Okay, so permutations and combinations are probability. I think probability अगर आप कर रहे हो तो permutations and combinations के बिना वो हो ही नहीं सकती. How can you solve a probability question without NCR and NPR? I mean, tell me yourself. And permutations and combinations is like a game of numbers, and probability is like an application of it. So yeah, without one, the other would be incomplete.
Okay, ठीक है. बहुत philosophical हो गया ये, लेकिन ठीक है. I hope that gives you an answer. Okay, so from Facebook we have Karna. Is Inzmam Uddin. I hope I pronounced your name. I'm sorry if I didn't. I have a problem on P and C. So when questions start mash up with probability, it goes against my way. But I understand probability.
So Inzmam here, I think probability will always be best friends with permutations and combinations. That's like what my answer was to the last question as well. I think for probability, the knowledge of permutations and combinations is must, and if you feel that you are good with probability, then I can't think of any way you will be good at it without understanding permutations and combinations. Both of them are my personal favorites because of like the calculation part involved and like more of number games involved. So yeah, I definitely favor both of the topics. But since it's my favorite, I would say ki if you're good at it, then you will definitely be good at the other as well.
Okay, so we have one question who asked by a student, is NCERT enough or they should go for some other book?
Okay, NCERT is actually not enough because NCERT, it's like more of, a subset of what is asked in the examination. So yes, there will be questions and in fact concepts directly from NCERT, but then again, if I pick a XYZ concept from NCERT and combine it with like ABCD, it becomes ABCD XYZ. Now, just by understanding that XYZ part, you might not be able to guess the ABCD part, right? So, it's important to understand that NCERT covers the gist of all the things that are going to come in your examination. However, your scope should be a little broader so that you are able to solve the so that you are able to cover the syllabus actually of the entire JEE curriculum. So I think just go through the JEE syllabus once again. You will feel that there are a couple of topics which are actually applications of NCERT concepts and not directly from NCERT. So yeah, please do that. About NCERT, I would say it should form like 20% of your questions, 20% of your 90 questions, like direct questions from NCERT. When I say direct questions, मतलब formula आया, concept आया, nothing like too much mirchi masala on it. Just simple like आप अपना concept इसमें put करो, values find करो, and you get the answer. So yeah, I think that is going to be like the things from NCERT. However, from the remaining paper, you need to broaden your scope like a bit wider.
Okay, so we have another question from Saqib Sheikh who's asking, sir, what about binomial theorem?
It's actually quite easy. Okay, I'm sorry.
For some people it might not be.
Okay, for binomial theorem, I would say there's just one type of questions which I'll be asking, and that will be like जब हम एक binomial like एक nth power वाले binomial को expand करते हैं 1 plus x raised to the power n, then the sequence becomes nc0 x raised to the power n plus x raised to the power 0 plus nc1 x raised to the power 1 plus nc2 x raised to the power 2 and so on up till ncn x raised to the power n. Now you will actually come across questions from binomial theorem when you will have to manipulate this expansion a little bit and then combine it with your original expansion to get questions of this type: nc0 into ncr plus nc1 into ncr plus 1, nc2 ncr plus 2. This becomes what? So you need to know कि इस particular case में आपको उससे क्या multiply करना है, क्या divide करना है, what value you have to substitute in place of x, whether you have to differentiate the entire expression or integrate the entire expression. So these are the kinds of questions which I expect to come from binomial theorem. And one more would be finding the greatest term. So finding the greatest term is also an important one. So yeah, these two topics should complete your binomial part.
Okay, awesome. We have one more question from Archana Shukla. Before that, guys, remember NEET session 3rd week of April. So make sure you keep updated on that with Toppr. So we will be giving you latest updates on that as well. So make sure you subscribe for that. So next question, Archana Shukla is asking, in 3D, how do we remember formulae for various cases? Because in questions at the test, I satisfy points in given line plane.
Okay, for 3D, I mean, imagination part is actually very important. Why I'm saying this is because अगर हम एक particular line को या plane को imagine कर सकते हैं, then I think all the cases becomes like generic after that. So if I have to quote an example over here, what should I do? Okay, so you all know that real numbers is basically consists of like whole numbers, natural numbers, integers, rational numbers and everything, right? So अगर आप एक जेनेरिक एक्सप्रेशन यानी रियल नंबर्स वाला जो पार्ट है उसे अगर आप एक अच्छे से इमेजिन करके उसे समझ लें, then the application part of it, that is the subset of it, would actually be application based part of that concept itself. So I know I'm confusing myself only, but I think the thing which I'm trying to say over here is take just one case and understand it to a level where you feel that you have generalized it. Once you have generalized it, if there is something else in the question, all you need to do is replace it with the constraint or add the constraint to it. Once that is done, I think it's very easy to solve the 3D problem.
Alright, so I hope that answers your question. We have one more question coming from Yashveer Yadav, who's asking, sir, as only 3 days are remaining for the exam, what should be done now for final preparation? Last year papers are okay or not?
Last year papers are actually great. I mean, if you have not solved it, it's really high time that you should solve it now. And I would say in the 3 days, I would say give some of your time to each of the subject: physics, chemistry, math. Just go through the concepts once again for every chapter. Maybe divide each subject into 3 parts and dedicate 3 hours a day of your time to each subject and to each section, like that. So for physics, for this, suppose today it's 5th, right? So on 5th I would be able to do physics का 3 hours का session एक revision, chemistry का 3 hours का एक revision, math का 3 hours का revision. Then tomorrow also I'll be doing the same. Maybe till today, maybe till like a night like an evening before the exam day, and probably then I'll watch IPL.
Be careful, don't do the same thing. Make sure that you're studying.
So guys, if you are like, so
exam.
here guys, I'll actually pinch, I'll actually jump in over here and say ki, if you are a big fan of cricket and if you feel that it keeps you like refreshing, it gives you like positive energy, then go to the ceremony, go to the entire IPL ceremony in fact, and even watch the entire match. I mean, not if you are like, if you feel your team is going to lose, then that's not the end of the world for you. However, it's more of a a refreshing exercise for you. So just before the just before a day of your exam,
make sure you study. Okay, thank you, Dixit Sir. All right.
Okay, guys. Just one thing over here. Just keep yourself calm a day before. Nothing more. I mean, like if whatever gives you positive energy, just do that. Be it cricket also.
Okay. ठीक है. Next question, last question actually for the day. We have from Mona Yadav who's asking how much time should we give to integration?
I mean, 2 minutes में हो जाएगा यार. Okay, sorry.
Bas 2 minutes.
Sorry. So integration, as I said earlier, also it will be like a combination of definite and indefinite integral. So I think if you are able to figure out the substitution in the initial 1 minute itself, then I think the question would take a maximum of 1 minute 30 seconds to solve. However, अगर उसमें थोड़ा सा टाइम लग जाता है, then I think 2.5 minutes per question is like the maximum I would spend on integration. Because 2.5 minutes में अगर वो question हो जाएगा तो वो हो जाएगा. उसके बाद में यार it's like very difficult.
Awesome. So I hope that answered all of your questions, guys. Make sure you comment more so that we can take a look and we will try to get back to you with that either now or next session. We do keep looking at your questions and figuring out how to help you more. Guys, remember what Dixit Sir has advised you on. Keep a note of everything that we've said.
One more thing. Have a very good night's sleep before the day of your exam.
Very important. Don't watch IPL.
Or do whatever relaxes you.
It will over by 11 o'clock. So yeah, you don't have to worry too much about it. However, if like the match is going beyond that, I think you should not really watch it. I mean, a night's sleep is much more important.
Yes.
Yeah.
Alright, we both agree on that. So guys, all the best for your exam. We really wish you all the best from our
all the best,
side.
guys.
We're with you, so make sure you subscribe and best of luck. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Take care, guys.
Take care.